Our main activity is to raise funds for the needy students of Bangladesh and also in Ottawa.
That it's a joyful tradition to celebrate winter with Pithas. You are able to see a display of some of samples on the table. It takes both culinary and creative skills to make and design Pithas.
There will be a pita making contest, so we have attractive prizes for those. And we also have a youth conference where our youth speakers will be delivering speeches on various interesting topics, and there are attractive prizes for those too.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك.
We should never forget who we are. We should always from ideological perspective, from a religious perspective, think of ourselves as Muslims. Doesn't matter where we are. So first advice to you and I is, let's never forget who we are. Number two, let's never forget that we have a responsibility towards our children to help them maintain that Islamic identity, to help them not enforce that identity. And number three, brothers and sisters, as I always point out, take care of your marriages. Take care of your marriages. CBET and Bengali community in general is an amazing opportunity to keep your culture with religion together. So please, inshallah, be part of this organization. Even when you disagree with them sometimes, keep your relationship with your organizations. Why? Because they are giving you that cultural energy that you need to maintain your life as Bengalis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Shubho Shandha, আপনাদের সবাইকে সাদর অভিনন্দন. It's an immensely exciting evening today, as we get more guests coming in with more scrumptious pitha. We will actually will be enjoying this evening, and it's an exciting evening. On behalf of CBET board, I would like to welcome you. So আপনারা আজকে আমাদের সঙ্গে এসেছেন to welcome you, and you joined us to celebrate this winter festival. We have a lot of other activities here, and I would like to say this is the CBET's way of saying thank you to our well-wishers. Thank you very much. We appreciate all your help around the year that you are with us, and you're always helping us, and that's really appreciated. For the last 2 years, we are doing the youth conference, and that's getting really popular. All our youths are really showing a lot of interest, and CBET would like to actually engage them. So that is a very significant month for the Bangladeshi Canadians as we celebrate the Victory Day of Bangladesh. Like 1971, December 16th, Bangladesh became a sovereign country, and that's very glorious for all Bangladeshis. It's a celebration for all us.
We wanted to integrate Bangladeshi Canadian as a Canadian Muslims with Bangladeshi heritage and keep this one in mind. But we are also Canadian. That's why our name is CBET. We are Canadian first and we are Bangladeshi second. That's why it is called Canadian Bangladeshi Education Trust. Be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'd like all of you better sponsor one scholarship of $200. This will be a charity because it will be a perpetual charity. This boy or girl who will get this scholarship in Bangladesh, it will change his or her life forever. So far we have given 700 scholarship in Bangladesh. Over 70 different or 80 different colleges and high school. And then also in Canada we have given 50 scholarships. So
meanwhile, I'll call Tahsin and Mehreen, please. Tahsin and Mehreen, and their topic is maple syrup versus molasses. Maple.
So it's sugar maple, red maple, black maple, silver maple. Literally any maple will make maple syrup. But there's also box elder, birch. There's actually a lot of trees that can make sap, but only a few, like the ones that are listed, will make actual maple syrup. Because to form maple syrup, you need at least a 2% content of sugar in the sap. Because the sap is majority water and a few other minerals, and to make it the sweetened sap that we all know, it needs at least a 2 to 3% of sugar. The sap, there's two extraction processes. One is the traditional bucket method, and the other is a commercial modern tubing method. So the bucket method, what is done is you take a drill and you form a small hole in the base of a tree. The tree has to be about at least 10 meters in diameter for the sap to actually be forming. And they drill a hole, they put a little spout into the hole and a bucket over, and throughout the day the sap is collected. And from this method you can get about 3 gallons a day. And the modern tubing method, it's essentially the same. You drill a hole, but instead of a bucket, you have tubes that are connected to all the trees and are brought to a centralized location, which is called the sugars.
Talking about khajur gur, it's this wonderful syrupy substance that we Bengalis pride. It's also found in many of our pithas today. So the extraction process. Khajur, the syrup, is usually extracted in the winter. Because the colder weather allows for more juice to be secreted from the trees. Farmers, known as gatus, climb the trees early in the morning, and they scrape the softest part of the tree, as you can see in the photo, right below the leaves, and they insert a bamboo pipe inside, in which sap pours out, and you have a small clay pot fixated under it, and the sap is collected throughout the day and retrieved the following morning. So processing, to make the syrup into actual gur, like the brown sugar type substance, it's boiled for an hour while being continuously stirred until it becomes thick, and once it's cooled, it can then be molded into any desired shape.
My name is Sadoon, and today I'm going to be talking about Ottawa Parliament versus Dhaka Parliament. I'm going to be focusing on just the architectural perspective because there's so much. Look at the two parliaments side by side. One on the left is Ottawa Parliament, but the one on the left is Ottawa Parliament, and the one on the right is the Dhaka Parliament. First off, I'm going to talk about the architecture. So the Ottawa Parliament, it follows a style that's called the High Victorian Gothic style. So what this basically is in simple words, it's an old style that focuses on pointed arches. What that means is the building looks pointed. That's really simply what it is. It's very geometric, it's very monumental. So on the bottom left, you can see there are two pictures here that are demonstrating these two styles. And this style originated mostly from the British times. And it's because Ottawa Parliament uses that because Ottawa is still government, Canada is still governed by the Queen Elizabeth. It's a really powerful way of showing Bangladesh now. That it's actually just the center of Bangladesh, and that their monument actually shows that they're growing. And so, if you go to the next slide. So I'm now going to talk about the challenges and why they made certain ways of how they designed it. So the Ottawa Parliament, it needs to have this Gothic style, and it needs to be really closed, simply because we live in Canada, right? It snows a lot. You don't want winter. You don't want the snow to go inside. You don't want the ice to go inside. So you need to have it a closed architectural style, so that none of this the weather can interfere with it. On the other hand, the Dutch Parliament is open and closed, and what I mean by that is Bangladesh. It's a hot country, right? You can have open windows. You can have open everything. But during the raining season, you want it to be closed on the interior. So if you can, I don't know if people on the side can see, but on the bottom right is a picture of like the interior view as if it was sliced in half. And you can see that on the outside they have all these like holes and everything. It adds to the design, adds to the architectural value, and makes it more visually appealing. But on the actual inside, it's completely sealed off so that no rain or nothing can go inside. And because in doing so, like for the Ottawa Parliament, because it was closed, they had to use artificial lighting to be able to light up the entire place so that people can work properly.
We'll talk about Canada Day 150th versus December 16th Victory Day celebration in Bangladesh. Nahina Nandia.
So Canada was under British rule until 1867, when it was created into a nation, and the provinces were unified into the nation through the Trans-Canada Railway. Because of that railway, Canada faced a lot of economic prosperity. As well, over the years, the Native people of Canada faced a lot of violence and their rights were compromised.
So Bangladesh was created in 1971 and the constitution was created in 1972. This was due to two wars. So the partition of India, which separated India, the Hindus and the Muslims in 1947. And then the Bangladesh Independence War, which was against Pakistan in 1971. Both of these wars was a lot of violence against Hindus, Pakistanis that lived in Bangladesh, and also the indigenous groups like the Chittagong, the Chakma of Chittagong Hill Tracts. This nation was built on being Muslim and also speaking the Bengali language, Bangla.
So the legacy of 150 years of Canada. So for one, Canada is very welcoming to minorities. As you can see from the pie charts, a lot of different minorities exist in Canada, as well as religions. Over 22% of the population is non-Canadian or non-white Canadians, and 33% of the population is non-Christians. So it's very welcoming to different minorities and different ethnicities. It's also proud of the British monarchy. The head of state is the Queen, so all policies go through her or the Governor General. And we're also different from the USA in terms of our values and our cultures.
So the legacy of Bangladesh is, of course, its rich history. So prior to British control, there was the Mughal Empire, and prior to that, there was several dynasties. So if you're really into history, forget Canada, look at Bangladesh. The history is enormous.
We'd like to hear from our friend Mr. Chandra Arya, Member of Parliament of the Liberal Party. You can always see him in CBET events. He's our best friend. Mr. Chandra Arya.
Once again, it's a great pleasure to be here. And every time I come to CBET event, there's always something new. One comparing Ottawa Parliament with the Dhaka Parliament, and the third one, Canada 150 versus December 16th, were quite interesting. For Ottawa Parliament, if you need any of the services we provide at our office, was immigration or anything related to your CRA issues or pension issues, please do contact me. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite our next youth speaker, Ashfi and Tafi, for their speech on La Machine in Ottawa versus Robot Sophia.
So first, let's start off with La Machine. So La Machine is a theatrical company that's based in Quebec. It was founded in 1999 by François Dolizier. It's a company that puts theatrical performances in various different cities across Canada. And they use different artists, they use different engineers, and they use different theaters to create sort of some puppets that they use to present different theatrical pieces. What happened is the dragon robot, his name is Langma, he used to watch over humanity from his sacred temple. And what happened one day was when he was sleeping, Kumo, the giant spider, he went into the sacred temple, he burnt Langma's wings off, and he robbed the temple. And then ever since that, Langma has been searching for his lost temple. And then while Kumo has been hiding underground in the temple that's underneath of Ottawa. And as the construction for the transit system started happening, the temple got found, and there was a battle between Longma and Kumo for the temple. So they used these two robots to show the story to the public. The other robot that I wanted to talk about was Robot Sophia. She is one of the robots that were created by David Hansen. He's of Hansen Robotics. He works in Hong Kong. So she is one of the first robots to ever get a citizenship to an actual country, and that was granted by Saudi Arabia. And the robot's very special because it's one of the first robots that can interact with humans without any human controls. So the robot has...
How's AI going to affect us in the future? So I'll start off with a quick short story. So there was this man, and he worked in automobile production. And specifically he would weld. And one day he was laid off, as were all the other welders. And he was never told why he was why he was laid off. So one day he went to go visit and see his old workplace, and he was replaced by a robot. So basically this is the idea of automation, like intelligent machines taking over human jobs. So automation is much more important than we actually, it's much more big than we think it is. In 2013, a study done in 2013 that examined 702 occupations determined that 47% of jobs in America can be automated, with the most at risk being cashiers, clerks, and accountants.
Our next youth speaker, Albert, will give a speech about high school secondary education system in Bangladesh versus Canada and what role CBET is playing to help students in both countries. I'd like to invite...
Okay, so high school in Canada. High school in Canada is from grade 9 to 12. The academic year runs from September to June. The first semester is from September to January, second is from February to June. We have a credit system here where you need 30 credits to graduate, and usually one course is worth 1 credit. So that translates into 30 credits. We also need 40 hours of volunteering here, and I think Dr. Amdad mentioned something about volunteering not being that prevalent in Bangladesh, so I think that shows the difference here. We also have some diagnostic tests, including the grade 9 EQO math test. This is purely diagnostic, so you just need to do it to give a sense of like how good your school's math education is. It's not so mandatory in terms of passing or failing, whereas we also have the grade 10 literacy test, which you must pass if you want to get your, at least in Ontario, your Ontario Secondary School Diploma. High school education in Canada is the responsibility of each province or territory. So for example, in Ontario we have the Ontario curriculum, Quebec has its own curriculum, and so on. A lot of emphasis is placed on final exams in Bangladesh, especially on the SSC and HSC. And it's to the point that sometimes when a student prepares for an exam, they feel like their whole family is writing the exam with them. Okay, so now I'll talk a bit about CBET's role in Ottawa and then in Bangladesh. So in Ottawa we have awarded 50 scholarships so far, each valued at $500, so that comes to a total of $25,000. And CBET approved $5,000 for the 2017 year for $500 scholarships, 10 scholarships in 2017. And in addition to all these scholarships, obviously we have many events, and we also offer opportunities for students to earn volunteer hours, which, like I mentioned, count towards your high school diploma.
Forests are lost every year. Mining, logging, and agriculture are just some of the reasons for it. It's because trees play a critical role in absorbing greenhouse gases that fuel global warming. At this current rate, if nothing is done, all of the world's rainforests and other forests can disappear within the next 100 years. Waste disposal is something else that we should look at, because this year, the Earth will generate about 2.6 trillion pounds of garbage. That's a lot of garbage if you really think about it. And too much garbage and improper ways of disposing it can cause mass contamination and can negatively interfere with natural habitats and the wildlife. Some dumped materials such as nuclear waste, medicine, and auto fluids can be very hazardous. Even though a lot of damage has already been done, we can still do a lot. And one of those things we can do is to switch to more renewable sources of energy. They include hydroelectricity, wind, and solar energy. And like I was saying, using these sources of transportation will have way less pollutants being released into the atmosphere. And another way is also to switch to more effective ways of transportation, such as public transportation, such as trains and buses, carpooling, biking, etc. The quickest way to manage deforestation, in my opinion, is to just plant a tree. If everyone pitches in and just... My name is Nafis Fayez, and thank you for tuning in to my presentation. I hope that I haven't bored you for this long.
Climate change is a change in global and regional climate patterns due to the increased level of atmospheric carbon dioxide because of the increased uses of fossil fuels by us humans. So now we're going to go on to what causes climate change. So as I said before, climate change is caused by us humans and our activities. It's affected by our use of greenhouse gases. This use of greenhouse gases causes the greenhouse effect. I'm gonna explain it briefly now. So the greenhouse effect, in short, is when the Earth's surface and the air and energy above it is warmed. So this happens when the greenhouse gases trap heat and energy from the sun and puts it into our atmosphere. Without the greenhouse effect, Earth would be impossible to live in, but the increased use of
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Tanaz and I'm going to talk about how does climate change affect Bangladesh and Canada. Climate change in Canada. Over the period 1948 to 2013, the average annual temperature in Canada has warmed by 1.6 degrees Celsius. Warming trends are seen constantly across Canada. Though main regions of Canada will also be of Canada's action on climate change. Canada is now a world leader to fight against climate change. The low carbon economy offers $2 billion to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and generate clean growth. Making Canada's building sector more energy efficient is a cost-effective way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. With smart and strategic investments in transportation, building a smart integrated clean electricity systems, the right investments today can make dramatic changes to reduce emissions and increase sustainability.
So hockey was first developed in Montreal, and the first indoor game was played in 1875. Stanley Cup later came into existence when Lord Stanley Preston was appointed Governor General of Canada by Queen Victoria. In 1889, he and his family went to a hockey game in Montreal at the Winter Carnival. This led to his family being very involved in hockey. His two sons later convinced him to present a trophy to represent the championship. So, this trophy was first called the Dominion Hockey Challenge Cup, then later changed to the more famous Stanley Cup. The National Hockey Association, or NHL, was formed in 1917. During the 1919 to 1920 season of the Stanley Cup, the Winnipeg Falcons won the whole competition, and they were able to represent Canada in the 1920 Winter Olympics in Antwerp, Belgium. And at the Winter Olympics, they were able to win gold for Canada. In 1972, elite Canadian players from the NHL went up against elite players from the Soviet Union in a series of 8 games called the Summit Series. So, for Canada, the Summit Series was their chance to show their dominance in hockey. But for the Soviets, it was their chance to show their designs on their new skills so that they could claim the sport as their own.
I just want to remind everybody, you see, all of our sisters, they cook with the one purpose. Everybody will look at their pocket and bring at least $120 note and put there somewhere. We'll pass this one. Yes. Think of how we can put smile in the unknown people, and that will help you perpetually. His son, his daughter, his grandchildren. So we'll pass everybody at least put $120. If you can put 2, 3, 4, 5, fine, but at least $120. Thank you.
Pitha prize. Who do you think won it?
ফুলঝুরি রিমা ভাবি, রিনা ভাবি, রিনা ভাবি ফুলঝুরি।
চতুর্থ পুরস্কার পেয়েছেন
গোলাপ পিঠা সালমা।
সালমা গোলাপ পিঠার জন্য চতুর্থ পুরস্কার পেয়েছে।
পাকান পিঠা নাসিম ভাবি। দ্বিতীয় পুরস্কার হৃদয় হরণ পিঠা নিম্মি ভাবি। গুনগোড়া পিঠা ডক্টর সুলতানা ওয়াহিদ।
The fifth prize, let's start from the bottom, goes to one of our very own, but let me assure you, there is no partiality, because the judges are not from CBET, they are from outside. And the person who will be getting this award, she does many amazing work for CBET. So let's find out if you are sitting around here. She designs, it's a she. She designs posters, she designs flyers, she designs many things. So let's declare the name. That's Nahin Ahmed. Is Nahin here? Anil Rahman, fourth prize. Come to the stage, please. Nafis Fayaz, please come to the stage. Sadun Imam, if you are around here, please come to the stage first, but not the last. So Tasin Ahmed, where is she? There we are. So anyway, so let's invite the recipients of the Canada 150 Year Award. Sister Asma Khan. Next, Dr. Syed Sajjadi Rahman. Is he here? Is Omar Sher. Salim Omar Sher, he is not here. Next we have from the youth group, someone who grew up with CBET. Two of them actually. They grew up with CBET from the age of 10 or 11 or so. And did tremendous work for this organization. I'd like to welcome Ashfaqul Ashfi, he's here. Please come to the stage. Response. Next is Izwani Shafiq Rahman. Either say for MC, for giving a speech, or printing some stuff, or designing a flyer. And
Mrs. Khan and Dr. Rahman, they have already received the awards when we had an excellent award presentation ceremony on 18th, last Monday. About 500 people were there to present and receive the awards. About 100 people received the awards that day.
We want to thank all of you supporting and also keep on volunteering. That is one of
course, it is based on nomination. When we came here, my husband, my children, my husband was very, very upset. He was very homesick. He wanted to go back to his country. I asked why he wanted to go back to your country. Because he got his job, my children were settled. Then he says, I wanted to pray in the mosque. He said, we will do the mosque here. So he says, do you think it is easy? I said, no, it is not easy, it is difficult. But we will distract. So, but it belongs to you, me and us. So I came here to represent us, not me.